We're live. Cool. Um, so I'm just currently rendering a back view of this character. Um, I'll let this finish up and I'll give myself some notes that we can start working on for the session. Um, so yeah, currently I've got render at the front, so it's starting to get somewhere fairly nice. The stream isn't at like full quality. Um, so you guys might not be able to see the peach fuzz, for example, because I did check yesterday's video and I did have a few comments saying, no, you couldn't really see it, and after checking it myself, yeah, I noticed you can't. So you might not necessarily be able to see the issues with the fuzz. There's fuzz here, which you should be able to see, and there's a little bit here you might be able to see, but it's a lot clearer on my screen. But yeah, so let's have a look around. I think generally speaking, so there's not a huge amount left to do because this groom isn't meant to be like a full length kind of. I'm not going to spend like full production amount of time on this groom. I'm just going to get everything to like a presentable standard and move on to the next thing from there. So, it's the 8 o'clock NHS thing, isn't it? No, should be outside. Go NHS. But yeah, so if we check the back, there we go, we got a render now. So I think generally speaking, we're starting to get there. There is some intersection issue up here. That might be down to the noise more than the guides at this point. We are starting to get the crossing of the strays, which is looking alright. Silhouette is still a little bit bland. It feels quite straight compared to the original sculpt, which is something that needs to be addressed at some point. The short hair at the back is starting to feel better. We did do a little bit of work on blending the strays into the head and also getting some more variation, although we do still need some direction variation. Peach fuzz shows up fairly well here on my screen at least as well. We do need to add the stray clump scrum, so that will be something that I may do today, depending on how the rest of it goes. I imagine I'll be streaming for about 2 hours, so until 10 p.m. Time in the bottom right there. But yeah, so if there's any questions as I go, feel free to ask. And I'm more than happy to stop. Also, if anyone is viewing right now, if you can just like say hello in the chat, just so I know it's working. Because I did have issues with with Tuesday's session with the chat not updating. So yeah, let's take it from there then. So for now, I'm just going to work on the peach fuzz because that's the thing where I know a few things that need to change already. Right, so for peach fuzz, grooming, visibility. So for anyone who wasn't there during yesterday's session, the peach fuzz I'm going to be building with I have built with groomable spines. Just because guides for peach fuzz isn't really ideal. You're going to have a lot of issues if you're doing that. You're going to need a lot of guides. So I figured I'd rather avoid that amount of guide work, at least for such short hair. Short hair you tend to get away with not needing guides, to be honest. So the things that I need to do on the peach fuzz, and again, I don't necessarily know how much is going to come through in stream. Basically, the length here is way too much. I do need to increase the length and density a little bit in this area, and around the cheek as well. I think increasing density would be helpful. I can't really see much here. Width feels pretty good, and around here it feels pretty decent, at least on my screen. So when all this is done, I will be rendering a full, probably do a QHD render turntable when all this is done. Post that on the channel, so then you'll be able to see kind of all this stuff. But for now, the main note really for myself is get rid of the hair from the lips, because that's the main issue. Because hair obviously doesn't grow on lips. The length just below the lip is, although it's the same as pretty much everywhere else, it feels longer because it's in a shadowy area. You can see the full length of the hair rather than just a little bit of the highlight. So now I'm going to reduce the length in that area. And yeah, I'll quickly go over the length and density of the cheek and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, Francisco, I can see your thing, so I'm glad to know it's working. So let's reduce the length. So goal length, let's go to 0.3. So 0.3 is way too short. Is that really the length it was? Oh no, okay. So let's set it back up to. So let's set that to negative increment. I don't think the delay is that big. I wasn't looking at the chat while I was talking about that stuff. Looking at the stream, the delay seems to be about 10-15 seconds, so it's actually a little bit less than normal. So yeah, like currently the stream just got to where I moved the slider for the increment. So that was, yeah, about 10-15 seconds ago. I was debating raising the stream quality. I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in me doing, just so you can see the peach fuzz and the finer things that we're doing. The reason I haven't yet is because it does increase the latency quite a bit. So I'm happy to do it, but it depends on what, basically what the priority is for anyone in chat. Like, would you rather have less latency and still be able to see pretty much everything I'm doing, or would you rather be able to see completely everything I do, including the really tiny tweaks, but have maybe a 30-second delay, which isn't impossible to manage, but might be something that could be an issue. I'm going to increase the length slightly on the cheeks. Set that to plus. Just because I want the fuzz to read a little bit more on the cheeks. Not for any like special, special reason. I just want to be able to read it. Like, it's not like necessarily always like that in real life, but I think it's always quite appealing. Like peach fuzz tends to look quite good on cheeks, at least for like child characters. Tends to look quite cool. At least in my opinion. Obviously, that sort of stuff is incredibly subjective. Right, let's just fix. I didn't really mean to orient. To mirror everything. For a second I thought I was mirroring just the length, not actually the whole groom. I'd say that's alright, so. Can't write Pt.6 file. Okay, so he wants to write a Pt.6 file for this. So if I'm going to need to assign a material. Head. Which is Lambert one. Okay. So while I'm at this, looks like it's working. So primitives, I'm going to need to paint the map away from the lips. That's the next thing to do. Paint it away from there. I'm going to paint it away from the eyes as well, although we didn't really notice it much in the renders. It is still worth checking out. So let's just go into the tool settings. I am just using the mouse today. Becca's currently in the bathroom, but when she gets out, she wants to do a bit of sculpting, and I don't really need Wacom to do grooming, so we'll just be using the mouse. Which really, it's good to groom with a Wacom, just because one, it's better on your wrist, like long term, but two, it just feels more artistic. And when you're doing guide sculpting, which I'm kind of past that point for a lot of this now, but when you're doing guide sculpting, it's quite helpful to have that kind of real-time interaction. Well, not real-time interaction, but kind of faster iteration speed with having a Wacom turned on. That will do for now, so I'm going to save that texture. one thing I'm going to need to do as well is check the noise, because the noise will be adding a fair bit of left. I know you can't really see this because it's grey on grey, but the noise might be affecting the length a little bit, and I can turn on preserve length. I don't often like having preserve length turned up that high though. I just find it makes handling your groom just a little bit more difficult. Although I do need to put on the actual material now, so let's just get right, grab these guys, assign preview hair material, and assign this guy his preview hair material. That will help a little bit. Is there anything in particular? Currently it's just you in the stream, Francisco. So if you want to ask any questions or you want me to cover anything, that's fine by me. Just ask away. I'm more than happy to kind of go over everything we need to go over. This hasn't updated properly. There we go. So something was wrong with that. Okay. Right, so I need to go back and paint it away from the eyes now. So give him some eyeliner in the mask. I just don't want any hairs that, like, you know, I mean, Peach Fuzz doesn't really appear around the eyelids, but this guy doesn't really have eyelids. So that's not really the main factor. The main factor for me is I don't want any hairs intersecting the eye, because if I render high resolution, you would just about make that out and it would feel really weird. I'm fine with Peach Fuzz going in front of the eye, that's not really a big deal for me. Because again, like, this isn't supposed to be like a super high quality asset, it's more kind of a bit of fun. I mean, it's more than a sketch for sure. Like, you know, I used to do the same thing, but there's nothing I now find more annoying than someone saying, "Oh, quick sketch," and it's really not a sketch. It's like 10 hours worth of work. I used to do the same thing, so I'm a bit of a hypocrite for thinking that now, but times change. But yeah, so this definitely isn't a sketch, but I don't want it to be like a full kind of, not a full in-depth project type thing. I kind of want to increase the density on the cheek, but that would involve painting everything else down. Set this to 0.5. I'll increase it globally and see how it looks. So let's just save that. There we go. So let's got rid of a few of the hairs that were near the eyes. There are still hairs inside the eyes though, so I'm going to have to fix that, because I didn't paint out the inside of the eyes. I think while I'm at it, I'm going to paint out the inside of the nostrils as well. Granted, the nostrils don't really have much depth, but I still don't want any hair growing in there. Anywhere else? That will do. Save textures. Save Pt.6. So apparently I didn't reach 0. I don't think that should be a factor, but let's try setting this to 2. Okay. There is still some kind of opacity on the brush stroke, so I might have to do a few passes of this. This could be a display issue as well, though, to be fair, but I have got this set to the solid alpha using the Wacom. Got this set to the lowest possible value. And I mean, I don't have a stylus right now, but stylus pressure is off as well, so it's super weird that I've got anything showing up, to be honest. Maybe doing that second pass will help. Right, we're not able to get rid of all of them. We'll get back to that at some point. Let's just set the gamma back to, I keep saying exposure, let's set the gamma back to 1. Cool. So, is it finally time to work on the sides? I'm going to assign the head material back on this as well. I do need to go through and delete a bunch of materials because there's so many materials in here at the moment. Flute. Head map. Right. So I'm going to push this hairline back a little bit. Let's get the scalp visible. So, oh, you need to be, oh, that's the temp, I can delete him. And this is the hair. No, that's the high poly eyes, which I can delete now actually. And I'm going to save the scene. Right, so right how I have seemingly less hairs just in between the eyebrows there. So you can eyebrows as well. I do need to add some hairs that are kind of coming out below it, but that's something we'll cover probably much later in the session. So let's go into what was I going to do? Oh yeah, I was going to do a side groom. So channel box editor, let's show the sculpts. So this one's push this back to about here, I think. So Xgen to the mask. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with this today. Having more bugs than normal. The project is set, so I shouldn't really be having any issues. Okay. Oh, that's peach fuzz, that's why. The head is invisible. So hair short. Cool. So I just need to go in. I'm going to paint pure black. I'm going to paint it back to about, let's just go in with this. So I'm going to paint it back to about here, I think. Save textures. Save this. Update. There we go. This is a bit more clean shaven this time around, but this side's already a bit further back anyway. Save textures. There we go. So that will all help a little bit. So now I can hide the sculpts. Oh yeah, that feels a bit better. Obviously it's green on green, so we don't see it too strongly, but also the viewport, for whatever reason, is less dense than the render, but in the actual groom, the output is set to 100%. So, that's preview. The output is set to 100% in render, so I'm not entirely sure why that's having any issues. A bit of a weird one, to be honest. Ooh. Okay. I didn't realize I could change the shade of hair. It's kind of cool. I was hoping it'd be an override, to be honest, but It'd be nice if I could set it so it changes shader when I render, so I don't have to keep swapping them out. But yeah, so I've updated the peach fuzz. Kind of like the length that we've got on it now. Feels a bit nicer to me. Just around the cheek, that sort of stuff. Although I do want to increase the density just a little bit. Well, I'll say just a little bit. Let's go up by 50%, see how that looks. And then we can see how that renders later on. Apparently didn't pull it back far enough from the lips, but we can see how that looks in render. And are we getting some intersection there? We are getting a fair bit of intersection now. So when I do my next pass on the groom on the face, I'm going to need to kind of elevate that back out. Okay. Let's go back to those renders. So direction variation on a short groom at the back is something I need to take care of. I need to have another look at this section. So let's do the direction variation on the back. So short hair, show the guides, move this. Grabbing another guide there, aren't I? Come on. So to get like kind of flow variation, I'm going to need more guides, because just pulling these around isn't really going to do much for me. It will help, of course, but because they're so far apart, the interpolation is going to smooth everything out anyway. So I'm going to add a guide here for now, and scale it up. And maybe if I pull him towards that guide there. It's a bit chaotic, but it might look cool. Not necessarily realistic. That's something to kind of keep in mind, is a lot of the stuff I'm going to do now is purely just out of my head design stuff. It's not necessarily what we would see in reality. And if I was doing this in production, you wouldn't just move guides around without looking at any particular reference. In my case, I just want to kind of play about with it and see what I get. But that will already get this. You see how we're getting like this dark spot here, and like the dark spot kind of moves as we rotate around. That's just because we've got more direction variation. You don't necessarily ever want to be able to look into the hair. So if these were pointing out, it would look like really dark hair. We don't want that in most cases. But you know, in the case of an animated character, I think it's fine. Depends on your art style though. If you're working for, I think Pixar tend to have quite a clean hairstyle when they're doing their work. They're always doing super clean shapes, which is super nice. I really like that Pixar kind of hairstyle, where everything's super clean. Like even the messy grooms have a really good sense of rhythm and flow, where you know each shape is influenced by the last, and it can make quite a nice effect. Also, side note, there's a life drawing tutor called Glenn Philpott. I'll put it in the chat. I think it's spelled like that. So he's a life drawing instructor, and he did a video with Proco, which might be where most people know him from. If you know, is where I got to know his name. And he talks a lot about what he calls rhythm and gesture. And he kind of applies like not music theory, because he doesn't go that in depth in terms of like rhythms, but the flow of music. He incorporates that into his art, and it's something that can apply quite well to guide work. Obviously, right now I'm not really doing a smooth enough job to really consider it to be like his style. But it's something that's interesting to look into. If you look into how he approaches gesture with rhythm, it makes for a very interesting, like kind of deep dive into your art, really. I'm gonna grab this guy and bend him a lot. There we go. kind of want to add a little knot in the hair somewhere. Just like a little section where it's all twisting around one little area. Not there, obviously, but let's try. Why can't I select all the other guides? Oh, I've got all the guides locked, haven't I? I knew I pressed something. There we go. If you can't select your guides, it's possible you lock them by accident. That can happen quite easily. It's happened to me a bunch of times. So let's set the width to, is it 05? It seems a bit thick. Oh, it is. Weird. Okay. So that adds a little bit of interest, just having those little flakes. I'm not going to be going crazy on this stuff. Just because it is short hair, like ultimately short hair on humans doesn't tend to have like crazy variation in terms of direction. It can, obviously. There's you know, no matter what claim you make, there's at least one instance of it being false. So, you know, it's not always the case, but most of the time the flow variation in short hair, especially on the back of the head, isn't that extreme. Is that doing what I want? Really need to break up this area. Can I draw over this? Can. So I think something like so let's have some curl there. Need to counter that around here, make it look interesting. I'm not drawing the length of the guides, I'm just kind of trying to figure out what direction I want things to go. That kind of works, although if that's doing this I need him to go the other way. So let's just go in and paint him out. So have that flow in that direction. Okay, so without moving my camera now, I'm going to try to go in and get these guides, and it's not going to look good if I exactly match them, and I will have to do quite a lot of fixing work with this, because I'm obviously looking at one angle and this is a three-dimensional object, it goes without saying. But I'm going to have to move him. Have him do that. Then let's add a guide about there. Scale him up. Any questions while I'm doing this? Or are we good? Let's drag him. He can go a bit bigger. Okay, we're gonna need a guide around there. Interesting, he's kind of naturally following the curve that we've got, which is a good sign. Needs to be a bit longer again though. I think he can be longer as well. I will need to do some recovery work once this is done. And by that what I mean is I'm changing the lengths to get the exact shapes that I want, but then obviously because I'm doing them one at a time, it's not going to work in total. Let me just check. Yeah, he's going to there. Yeah, because I'm doing them kind of in isolation, we are going to have issues with the length variation now. Is that what I want? Yeah, it is. Let's add a guide. That's not going to work. Okay, let's add him. Scale him. Don't like him anymore. So let's move him. That's not the right one. And then sculpt him. And then let's show the groom. Yeah, so that's going to be all over the place now, but we can fix that. For now, let's just get the 0.8, 0.5. And it's averaging out to be almost the same as what it was, which is lovely. Shouldn't be though. Let me just test this. Do that. So it is working. Just not working as much as I expect. So I'm going to have to push the shapes a lot more. That might be the issue as well, as they're all heading the same direction in this view. So let's curl him. Getting some variation now. It's a lot. It's very subtle, and again, it's like it feels super subtle because the guides are being averaged out. Need another guide around here, I think. So let's just. Which way should he go? Should he go into this? Maybe he can curl up. See how that looks. The key word there was maybe. So I'm not saying that as like a defense. I'm saying like because that doesn't necessarily work, but it's fine to kind of not quite know what you want to do. Guess the devil is in the details. Oh yeah, for sure. But yeah, so like when I'm placing guides, I don't necessarily know what I want the flow to be. It can take quite a lot of time to kind of know that. I'm getting messages from Christine. But yeah, so I don't necessarily know what flows will work ahead of time, especially if I'm not actively copying a reference. If I'm copying a reference, I know what will and won't work because I'm copying it. I can see what will work. But 1 second, I just need to answer a question. Second. Sorry, guys. So let's get this guide, pull him out. There we go. Right, so sorry for that. I'm gonna mute my speakers as well, just so if I get messages, it doesn't annoy you guys. So let's set this 0.8. Let's set this to 0.05. So let's fix the shape of this guy. I'm gonna kind of go crazy with him. Just gonna bend him way out, which doesn't make sense, but let's just see what that does. Let's want to do something interesting. That does not work at all. So if I have the root go straight, do something more like that. That works better. Yeah, finding shapes is incredibly important. Hey, Christian, there you are. But yeah, so with this sort of guide work, like it's a case of just testing stuff back and forth. I do need to add a guide around here to kind of decide which flow is more dominant, because obviously they go in different directions here, and just letting interpolation go just feels wrong to me. So if I place a guide mostly on this side and then bend it to the left, it's not going to be a parting, but it will start to feel like one. So you'll get a switch in direction. You see that there? How we get like, there is still an interpolation, but it's a lot more subtle, and that feels more natural in most cases. It is something I heavily recommend doing, is sometimes don't let interpolation do too much work. You want to go in and intentionally break it a little bit. Not any extreme, like, you know, that wasn't exactly breaking stuff, but just intentionally pushing it closer to something that's going the opposite direction will get you that. I mean, I can make it more extreme if I do that and scale him up, bend him the other way. It's going to be way more extreme change now. So, in fact, I do need to move him for that to work. So if I put him, let's say, there. There we go. So you see how we get, like, they're actually crossing now, rather than, it's not really pulling apart anymore, they're just completely crossing. So that's something that's kind of interesting to do. I don't particularly like this guy. I wanted it to be some level of interpolation, but, you know, that gives a much stronger effect doing that. So if I kind of do that in random places around the groom, it will feel like, can't think of the word right now. It kind of feels like he's been brushing his hair with his hand or something, like just, you know, quickly itching the back of his head, which actually might be something interesting to add, as if I had like a little ruffled section. It might be quite cool. We'd add a little bit of character. Is he right-handed or left-handed? I'm going to go with right-handed, so let's say he's itched here. I'm going to mess up this area and make it feel like he's been itching his head a little bit. His hair might be a bit too short for that to work fully, but we can check it. So to get that look, I'm going to have to do quite a bit of, I'm just going to have to grab a guide and go whoop, and then grab another guide next to that, and maybe just bend it the other direction. I need to lengthen him as well. And now my hair's not previewing, which is ideal. I'll have to figure out why that's happening in a second. Maybe it's just the viewport bug that I have a lovely habit of getting. But let's just add a bunch of guides in this area and kind of make it feel like he's been not itching his head, but, you know, just quickly ruffling the back of his head. Let's pull that up that way. And I'm not being too careful with these, and frankly I don't care how good these guides look. I'll probably end up deleting them when I change my mind. Let's tear off. Yeah, I've had that thing where Maya crashes. Okay, so I can continue to add guides, and then I'll have to reopen Maya. So let's go, I'll add one more guide, let's say there. Scale him way up. Oh, there we go. Angle perspective. Okay, and in an area like this you'd expect it to be more clumpy as well, so we'll have to go in and change the clump map to make it stronger. But now I'm going to have to add a guide directly below that. Scale him up. Pull that, so he's too long, but that's fine. that just feels like he's quickly like gone through and wiped it. Once I've done a bit more work on clumping, it will at least. Let's add a guide right there. Andy sharing my post again. Thank you, Andy. Also, if anyone wants to share these, it'd be much appreciated. Because obviously, like, yeah, I'm not planning on turning YouTube into anything bigger than just something to play about with. But yeah, if I'm making free kind of live streams for people to learn groom from, then sharing it will be kind of helpful just to get it out there to more people. Again, I don't plan on monetizing this in the slightest. It's just a case of getting more information out there. So I'm going to add another guide just here, and with that one, I'm just going to bend it the other way. Hey Andy, how's it going? So we've got that little section now. Sharing is caring. Exactly, yeah. I've always enjoyed teaching. One thing that I've found incredibly helpful with doing this little series, and I will be continuing after. I've got another message retracted. I've got another project planned after this one. I think I am going to stick to Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday 8 o'clock in British time, so GMT. Because I'm finding it really helpful for just motivating me to do more personal work, which is something that I didn't used to need motivation for, but now I'm working in pre-viz. It's quite a fast-paced environment, and you get home and you don't necessarily want to be doing personal projects, but it's so important to do personal projects. I stopped updating again. Perfect. For some reason, my Maya is incredibly prone to not updating the viewport sometimes. There we go. And then I'm going to need to add stronger clumps in that area. So let's just go in and do some stronger clumps. So where is what I'm looking for? Action. There we go. Modifiers. Oh wait, not doing action yet. Needs 10 sculpts. Okay. So let's go into modifiers, Xgen. Go into clump 2. Paint that. I'm just going to paint it solid white in that area. And I'll be adding more noise and stuff as well. But I just want to make it super strong for this little bit. And it's not updating, so let's do the next layer of clumping. So now I'm going to need to do that anyway. Solid brush, that's good. Just do that. I'm not too worried about making these maps super clean right now. I just want to test the idea. I mean, you should. I know it's a lot of work to keep a YouTube channel. Yeah, I mean, the reason I don't really plan on monetizing it is, one, I like putting stuff out there for free, because I've been doing this now for 8 years, which isn't a huge amount of time, obviously, but it's longer than like a fair amount of the art community. Like everything's kind of ramped up quite recently, but obviously I went to college for 2 years, which is actually I was taught by Andrew King. So the guy who's in this chat, he was my first teacher. He kind of got me into CG and really taught me. He taught me the mindset, which it's been helpful constantly. And then I went to university. But ultimately, what I learned from most, and something that was passed on to me quite a lot, is I learned from whatever I could find. I went onto Google. I'd Google tutorials constantly. I'd read documentation. So most of the knowledge I have, although I've had some amazing teachers, most of the direct knowledge itself is from Google. It's free content. I've only ever paid for 2 or 3 tutorials. Everything else is just experience and free content. So I kind of want to repay that back. And ultimately, I don't think I'm good enough to really charge for the knowledge I've got, because you got people like Jesus FC, who he's been doing this a lot longer than I have, and he knows a lot more than I do. So he's monetizing that teaching, and that's completely fair. Power to him. But for me, I just don't feel confident doing that. I'd rather pass on free knowledge because that's how I got to where I am. I need to go into this noise. I need to add a map to this. So, yeah, let's do it. Create map. For short 01, noise, plump 02, noise, not mask, just clumpy noise will work for now. Set that to black, set this to about 40, create. So, where is that? There it is. So I'm just going to paint solid white in this area. Save texture. That's good. Didn't mean to click that. Just going to save this guy. And have it not update. Come on. Panels, tear off. So this needs to be ramped way up. Nice frequency 5. There we go. Okay, so just need a bit more power. Let's go with frequency of 3. So now $A. Okay, so dollar noise map and noise map. So I'm going to add this to my strays. So let's do a few variables. So I want to do percent stray. In fact, do I want to do percent stray? Yeah, I do want to do percent stray. Okay, so noise map. I want to add percent. Dollar percent stray equals. I'm going to go with 10 as a baseline, and then I want that to range from 0 to 100. Then I want to do what would be the best? I want to do stray magnitude, so dollar stray magnitude min equals, let's go with 1, and let's have a range between 0 and 4, or 0 and 5. 0 to 5.0. We're adding that 0.0 just so it's a float, so I can change the slider. Then I'm going to copy paste that, rename it to max. Okay, then I'm going to do noise magnitude min equals, I'm going to set that to 0. And let's set this to 2 actually. Set that to 0. And then 0.0 to, I like to set it to 5 just so I can see the two sliders next to each other and see how they compare. And let's set that to max. So I'm just declaring a bunch of variables at the moment. I'm not actually doing anything with them yet. So noise magnitude min max. Hello.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Enjoy a shower?
Yeah. I ordered
Can you read the phone?
It's yeah, I ordered I'd already ordered flowers from Mom and Dad's anniversary, but I got them from them.
Wait, when's their anniversary?
Today?
Oh. I mean, Nicola and Simon won't see this, but congrats to Nick. Congrats to your parents. I didn't know it was today.
Yeah, I thought it was Saturday, but
Nice magnitude. 0.5.
I ordered them, they'll all see this, but I ordered them like Cards Against Humanity.
So now let's do.
So that we don't need to borrow crayons again.
Fair enough. So I'm gonna do dollar procedural noise equals. So let's do rand. What? Rand. I'm doing a bit of a fancy setup.
What is it?
In fact, actually, I can copy paste a lot of this.
You should put it in a text document somewhere or a Google document.
So let me just apply accept. So it's not going to work, but that's fine.
Unacceptable.
Okay. So if I.
I'm gonna try some sculpting. Try and do it with mouse.
Go for it. Can't I edit that now? Uh-oh. Oh no, there it is. Cool. So if I go to fur hair, because I typed up a lot of this in my clump 2 noise in there. So I can actually just, rather than figure it out again, I can just copy paste all that. Let's go back to fur hair short. Clumping 2, not frame, noise. Go into this. I want to paste that. Let's full screen this. So on off. Then, okay, so procedural noise equals. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm declaring a variable called noise map, which is equal to the map converted to Pt.6, so the paintable map. I'm creating procedural noise, which has an on-off switch, percent stray, blah blah blah. Doesn't really matter. These should go down though. These should go down to 5. Yeah, those should go down to 5. 5.0. 5.0, just because it's short hair, I don't want the magnitude to be anywhere close to the long hair. 5.0. Okay, so then I'm declaring procedural noise, which is to rand, checking whether percent stray is larger. That just allows me to pick hairs out as strays. And then if they are stray, it picks a rand between stray magnitude min and stray magnitude max. If it's not a stray, it'll pick a rand between between magnitude min and magnitude max, and that all gets multiplied by the on-off switch, so I can just turn it on and off. And then, although I do want to move that actually in this case, so I'm going to move that. And then we've got noise map, which I can add to procedural noise. Why are you not available? Why are you not? But you're right there. Okay, let's just do it on one go then. So I'm going to put that in a bracket, just because it helps me visually understand it. And then I'm going to do dollar noise map plus okay, apply, accept. So now I've got my on-off switch. I'm going to turn this to update preview automatically. So I've got my on-off switch, which should be updating. Oh, because I haven't added it in yet. Let's multiply the whole thing. This isn't the cleanest expression, but it gives me all the control I want. So multiply the whole thing by on-off. Dollar on-off. Apply, accept. So the whole thing is now controlled by this. So I can turn it on and off. I can change the percent of strays. And I can reduce the overall strength of those strays. So I'm going to set these way down. I want to add a bit more information to this. So let's do dollar map strength. Yeah? No, you? Map noise strength equals. And that will go between 0 and 5.0. And let's do drugs. On off noise and on off map. On off map. And I just want to give myself on off controls for each one. Is it overcomplicating? Yeah, probably. Do I care? No, not particularly. Map strength. So I want to get you and multiply you by on off map and add the result of that to this guy. I really wish there was I could use get it or something as like a proper text editor, but this is fine. So bracket, so 2, 1 close, 2, 1. I think that's correct. No, it is not. Oh, because that's still on off. Noise. Okay, so now in theory, I can turn the map on and off. Cool. And I can turn the noise on and off. Cool, there we go. So that's working the way I want it to now. Cool. So I can change the seed of my strays to get different strays in place. I'm going to save this. That's actually quite helpful. Save as. Noise. Noise magnitude. I'm also going to copy paste that to another chat for safekeeping. I send it to Jesus.
What?
I've gone all out on this expression. Made it kind of mad. Well, it's not anywhere near what some people's gets to, but it's got a lot of features now.
Ooh. Nasty.
Oh, do you want to see? No?
Yeah, what is it? Does it talk through it?
So.
That, or I can just turn on your live stream.
You could.
Talk it to me.
Oh, map strength doesn't work yet. I need to add that in. It's like I need to get this working. Noise map multiplied by dollar map strength, and then multiply that. Okay, apply. Syntax error. I need to keep track of where all these are now. So we've got 2 closing brackets, 2 opening brackets, so that one should be fine, in theory. Are you alright?
Tequila. Ooh, this is exciting.
is that needed? 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 0. So I need to put that in brackets. There we go. So that should work now. There we go. So got on-off map. That's working. On-off noise everywhere else. Yeah, all right. So it's working now. Noise magnitude. So yeah, the way I've got this set up, Becca.
Yeah.
Do I come see?
Just talk me. You talk through what you did.
So it allows me to paint a map.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the screen, that'll at least be helpful. So it allows me to paint a map, which I've painted for this area, because I want this area to be rougher.
Yeah.
I can change the strength of just the map noise.
That's cool.
I can turn off the map noise, so just the map noise.
That's cool.
I can turn off the general noise.
Mm-hmm.
I can change how many of that general noise is stray.
Mm-hmm.
A seed for that stray to randomize it.
Mm-hmm.
The minimum and maximum magnitude of the strays, and the minimum max of what every hair gets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like loads of different controls. It's quite granular.
How did you get into? Did you just make your own attributes in it?
I literally just wrote an expression. It's not like technically complex. It's just lots of attributes and
but
counting brackets.
It saves you having to keep going back and forth with a lot of.
Yeah, so I don't have to keep typing stuff up because it's all in full control. So this might work. That feels a little bit rustled. So then noise frequency. I'm just gonna set that to be around between. Let's go between 2 and 4. Cool. So that should work all right. It's just interesting. Might not look good in renders, but we'll see later. But pretty happy with how that works. Should I set preserve length? Oh, is there a preserve length in clump noise? I don't think there is. There is not, and I do not know how to script that.
What are you looking for?
How to preserve length of clumps when you add noise to them, but I don't think there's an actual way to do it within the clump system. I think you have to do it outside like in the actual hair themselves, which is not really ideal, at least for what I'm doing. Right, so we got that working. Let's hide the sculpts. 6. Okay. So I think now I can actually start doing the stray clump groom. So that's the last groom that I need to add from scratch. Yeah, we've got 6 people watching at the moment.
I'm not any of them.
At least 6 of them on my mum on various accounts. Right, okay, so let's get close him. I'm just going to save a version as well. I might just save, but I'm not doing very good at keeping track of that right now. And then once the stream's over, I need to type up in the description of each one what I go through. Which might take a while.
Yeah.
What? I think there's like 9 hours worth of streams now, maybe even 10 hours. So, do we have the sculpt available? What is that? Oh, that's the original eyebrow guides. And what are you? You are flip guides, don't need you. Class group, can get rid of that. That's just a ground plane. Get rid of that. Is my sculpt not in? Oh no, there it is. Cool. So yeah, now we're going to create a separate groom, just kind of match these clumps. So for now, I'll just be doing pure guide work on this. Let me just select hair template, modeling toolkit, object, X-ray. go into action itself, start hiding all the grooms in that area. Cool. Baby hair we can keep there. So let's get the sculpt, which is invisible. Go into Xgen. Then let's add descriptions, create description. Fur, stray, clumps, clumpos, clumps, L1, L1. Description with a brain folder. Placing the shape and guides. And then I need to get rid of that hair again, so to not update automatically. For stray clumps. Cool. So we now need to figure out where we want to add them at the back as well, which will take a few passes, I think. But for now, what I need to do, I need to see the guides from the actual head hair while I do this. I think what I'll do to differentiate for now is I'm going to set these to be a fair bit thinner than they currently are. So let's set that to 0.25. So they're just there for general reference. I don't want to be able to interact with these, so I'm going to lock them as well. Lock the guides, so now I can't touch them. Which I guarantee I'll forget about that later and complain next gen's glitched out on me. Because I don't think there's any visual representation that they're locked, other than the fact you can't select them. Right, so let's go into stray clumps, add a guide, and then this hair here is flicking out at that point, which looks to me like it would come from these guides here. So I'm going to add a guide roughly in the same area. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want it to be at least make some sense. And because these are going to match exact shapes, I'm going to turn off lock length, because I'll just figure out the length by myself as I go. I will need to normalize guides. There we go. I need to rebuild that for sure. Rebuild 7. And I flicked off, so let's go that way. Okay, that's one guide in place. And then I'm going to copy that so I can get the same number of CVs. So let's go now with, let's go with that guy. So he's flicking out right here, so I'm going to assume the guide should be about there. Paste the guide shape. And then I'm not too worried about conserving length. Let's just get him in place. Oh, I've maybe put him a bit too far back. Do something like that. So technically what I'm doing in here doesn't really matter. And really I should be a bit flatter. The reason I'm doing it though is just because part of it's peace of mind, to be honest, a bit OCD with this sort of stuff. But I feel like if I'm going to have strays coming out, it's going to feel weird if it just comes straight out. Like it's not going to blend, like it won't simulate really the way the hairs around it would. Which, you know, this hair's slightly different length than the other, so it won't simulate the same anyway. But it's just worth checking, really. Let's normalize that. Making sure they at least follow some kind of reason. And I'll probably go in and increase the number of CVs on these later. But for now, I'm going to flick this guy back a little bit as well. Let's add the guides at the front, because I feel they will make a fairly large difference. And he's just a short guy, so it doesn't really matter. Normalize him. Normalize. Rebuild. Cool. So we got that guide. I'm gonna push him way up because that's what the hairs around him are doing. Maybe it's worth sliding it slightly. And then curl him in. Don't want him to go into the head, so I'm gonna curl him up. And then do a similar guide on the other side. So let's go with here. Let's normalize that. Normalize that again. So I've put him a bit too far back. I need to move it. That'll do. I wish when you moved guides it would try to like maintain some shape, because I still don't have my utilities, so I still can't snap guides to pre-existing ones. Does anyone have any questions while I'm still doing this, or?
Is anybody there?
But people are here. I'm just not hearing much. Although the comment section is more active than yesterday, it's at least working, which it didn't yesterday.
Oh.
The chat was broken for. Well, the chat was broken for most of the stream. Like people were messaging, but I wasn't seeing it. And then later on, when I refreshed, like hit F5 on YouTube, it suddenly showed like about an hour's worth of chat.
I'm trying to find YouTube. It's brought me to your showroom, Michael.
What are you trying to find?
Find it. You're live.
Where do we on live?
There you go.
Havent's in this chat now, I'm wondering. When I see it in the comment, I'll let you know. I think there's like a 10-second, 20-second delay. There you are. It is. Yeah, for science. She told me I suck for science.
You suck for science?
I suck for
Is
science.
that like a slutty scientist bumper sticker?
It's
Will suck for science?
Research is important, my dude.
Jesus, those scientists are having to get their own
If they're resorting to me, things have got desperate. Let's add a guide here. So a lot of these strays don't necessarily make sense, and it will take me a few passes to kind of get them actually working. Because again, like these aren't really necessarily in the right place, but I'm just gonna have them kind of flop into the right place. I need to normalize this one. Maybe even rebuild it to a higher CV count. In fact, yeah, I have to rebuild it higher. Let's go with 9 to get a nice smooth shape. And it needs to curl back. So again, like this groom will never be perfectly accurate, because strictly speaking, you can't get a groom of this style to be perfectly accurate in terms of like the general setup that I'm using. It just wouldn't. These strays wouldn't really happen the way that they're happening in this. So I'm having to kind of jerry-rig it by putting guides in weird places. But it will get the visual that I want. And again, like this isn't going through full pipeline, so it doesn't really matter.
You should do a full pipeline.
No.
Why?
Because I'm not an animator, I'm not a tech anim guy.
Oh, no, not that. I meant like retopo. Finish your Cloyce character.
Maybe one day. Which is Michael's slang for no.
You said that about this guy.
Well, I prefer this guy over the last one though.
I feel like I should just from now on be like, oh, hey Mike, can you sculpt me something for me to learn groom on? And then you'll just do it yourself anyway.
But you can still use this guy.
I can use your streams as well, because I find it useful, though I can't listen to your voice in streams because you are my boyfriend.
You can listen to my voice.
Yeah.
The soothing dulcet tones.
Dulcet.
Is that the word he used? I can't remember.
It is dulcet.
Just picture David Mitchell
What
gently telling you how to groom.
Oh, that is a horrifying thing.
Everything I do is horrifying. So this doesn't make sense. I need to rebuild that down. Not rebuild that down. Push it down. Sometimes my brain just like picks a
Forget
word.
it's a word.
It just picks a random word and thinks it will do. Can you tell I almost failed English? I say almost failed. I got a C. I didn't really almost fail, but I didn't do well. I know, right? It's like the essays in uni almost got me out. Oh, that doesn't make sense. So this guy doesn't make much sense, but I'll return to him. Really, he should come from about here instead. Like, tilt in. You know what? I'm not going to be lazy. I'm just going to do it.
Do it. Do it properly.
Yeah. So now he's actually following the path that the other hairs have made, which makes more sense. He is still a stray, so he's not going to follow it perfectly. Let's rebuild him again. So let's go 10. I'm going to rebuild all the guides at the end to the same number, just so that if I was to simulate using the guides, I'd at least have the same number of CVs and it'd simulate the same way. But obviously I'm not going to be simulating, but it also just helps getting nice clean shapes. I don't know why I tried to generate the groom. Hide that. Add some more, so I need 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Any others I've missed? I got 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 more guides to add. 11. I think I might have miscounted. So he needs to follow from these guys. So these lengths are making no sense now. I hate to have to re-enter that number every time. Should just remember the last number you put in.
I always, that annoys me, this is off topic, but annoys me with ZBrush. It's like, you should remember to put symmetry on every time you pen, or like insert an object.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
And you can always like get the symmetry back with like smart resim.
Yeah, but it's annoying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then you start and you're like, fuck you.
Yeah, sculpting without symmetry is a death sentence for anyone beginning. It's way harder than it should be. Like sculpting asymmetry is just a nightmare.
When you think about it, it is.
Yeah, it's really hard to sculpt asymmetrically. Granted, there's people out there who just get it.
Get a compliment for my feedback today, by the way.
How long does it take you to make a main character groom in production? I can't really answer that too accurately, just because production secrets. There's a large range. You can be looking months for most characters, but number of months, or even if it's years or weeks, depends on the asset and what client you've got and
Budget.
what the budget is, how close it's seen, because it could be a main character that's never seen up close, so it depends on a lot of factors. So it's impossible to really accurately answer that question. I mean, you know, one thing to put in perspective. So I've been working on this character now, casually, because obviously I'm chatting and I'm not working in a production environment. I'm just at home. So you know, this is 9 to 10 hours work of grooming so far, and it's nowhere near production quality. Like absolutely nowhere near. But it's pretty much a finished groom. Like it's all in place. It all looks roughly like what it should. It's just a case of refinement. And you know, I mean, I've been grooming professionally for about 2.5 years before I switched to previs. So consider that, you know, this groom so far has been basically a full day's work and up to lunchtime the following day. You know, consider that we can be working months on some characters. So a lot of that time is spent going over the same thing. So if you're saying how long does it take to make a main character, straight speaking, not much time. But the level of feedback you go through, the number of rounds that you have, the number of times a client either changes their mind or doesn't really like something, massively varies how long you'll be spending on an asset, like hugely so. The actual act of grooming doesn't take that long. It's one of the slower departments, I'd say, but ultimately, it's mainly down to feedback.
Would you say that things like digitables, but like digitables where they're just replacing, you know, actress, like it's already there, so you have all the photos? Would you say that like
When you have reference there, in theory, it should speed it up,
Yeah.
and technically it does. But because the reference is there, the clients get pickier. So, you know, if you're doing a concept groom, clients are still incredibly picky. And I can't get into asset names, but
Yeah.
you would know some of the asset
Yeah,
names because
yeah,
you worked at NPC. So concept-based grooms, most of the time is spent just finding shapes and fooling around. Whereas digital grooms, most of the time is spent like, oh, that stray hair looks really weird. Oh, that clump
Put it back.
isn't doing. Yeah, like, can you change this exact hair? Can you increase the density of just the hairline by 10% or whatever? Like, it gets really precise. Is it harder to make a groom for VFX or animation? No. Yes. Both.
Maybe so.
Depends on the animation, depends on the VFX. In VFX, there's, like, it's not controversial to say there's a huge range in quality. Not studio to studio, but asset to asset, film to film. Some assets you can get, and it's literally make it work for background, that's all you need. And you get maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks just to get something out. You can get less time, you can get more. But then obviously you get some assets, like, how much information is public? I know the asset itself, Rachel. So the asset itself, Rachel, for Blade Runner.
There's no
I don't know if they
time.
announced how long it took.
No, they didn't. There's no time limit. I googled to see if there was any time. Like,
Yeah, so it doesn't say how long it took, but you can imagine that would take a lot longer than a background asset because it's like super close up and high quality.
I feel like the more articles written about the creation, the longer it's gonna have to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, I think there's breakdowns for the visual effects breakdowns have been released for Scar, which are really cool.
Yeah, they look really great.
So like you can even see the detailing goes into that, and like the reference that was like looked at, it's insane.
Yeah.
Like, some of the work.
Heads up, don't mention artist numbers, just in case.
What?
Artist numbers. Don't mention how many people worked on it.
No.
Just a heads up.
Chill, I'm so full of secrets.
Yeah, you know so much stuff just because you were in production.
I know what I can and can't say.
You probably know so much stuff that I can't know.
Let's not bring it up, so you want to ask.
Oh yeah, like, yeah, you've done a good job of not telling me. So there's so much shit you know that I want to know and I can't know. What?
All I can think in my head is what do you call it? They're making what do you call it?
It's like, oh man, I can't believe they're making a sequel to Cats.
That was what it was. I couldn't remember what the name of the movie was. I was like, what the fuck?
That's like, I do wonder, like, as
James Corden in the eye, like,
as-
what should he that fucking movie?
as a VFX artist, I do
Dogs.
sometimes wonder, like, could I say a completely like bullshit film? Like, could I
They're
say?
not making this movie, by the way.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna say like I've been doing this long enough to not slip up in that kind of thing
It's
anymore.
not that people. I've seen so much of that shit happen.
But that's what I'm saying though. So like you know, could I just say right now like, oh, like, even though I'm not gonna say anything true, I'm still like there's a minefield in my head.
I wouldn't say anything because then people are gonna be like, what? What'd you say?
This is. It's like, oh my god, I can't.
Think of movies that we know or no.
I can't believe they're making a full live action sequel to Air Bud. Like.
What?
You remember the dog film, Air Bud? It's like
Buddies,
Buddies. Yeah, well, Air Bud was one of them. Yeah. It's like, you know, it would be so easy for me to go on Reddit and be like, oh, can't believe NPC is working on this. For clarification, as far as I'm aware, we're not. As far as I'm aware, it doesn't exist and won't exist. But you know, the general example is like, wonder what I could say and people would believe it just because I work at a VFX studio.
I feel like a lot.
Yeah.
Because there was like
Well, some of the stuff you see on Reddit is like clearly not true. Like there was the whole butthole cut thing.
Oh fuck yeah.
It's like, oh, the butthole edit of Cats is like, yeah, like, of course people are gonna make up that sort of stuff.
And then people believed it.
Yeah, and people actually believed it. To be fair, I guarantee a lot of people who like believed it in air quotes didn't actually believe it. They just thought it was funny.
I had to like clear that up for some students.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some
They
people.
thought
The
of
thing
it.
is, like, if you pick the right film, people will believe anything. And Cats is that once in a lifetime. Like, people will believe whatever horror story you tell about production.
Idris Elba strangled a cat.
I can't believe Idris Elba literally murdered someone on set. Like,
Nah, he's bad.
have you seen breakdowns for Lady and Tramp? Those grooms look so great. Yeah, they're really, really good. Really, really great work on that film.
My dog watched it at the weekend.
Your dog watched it?
I wish that was a lie, but my dog watched it at the weekend.
It's pretty funny. Wonder how many near misses we just had in that conversation of NDAs.
No, don't you worry. I filter automatically now. I'm the perfect person.
But like, wonder how many times, like, if someone's watching this back and they happen to be like in CG, they were like, "Are they about to say something?"
Joe would strangle.
Yeah, it's such a tricky thing, NDAs,
It's a weird one.
because they can be so deep.
It's not even that. I didn't realize how many hoops. If that makes sense.
Oh, there's
And
so many hoops.
Like you can't say like shit, even though like stuff that is.
Even if you worked on
known.
something, you can't say how long you worked on it for, and in most cases, you can't say that you worked on it to begin with.
I feel like there's just so much like even things that like people work at multiple studios. They don't normally stay at the same studio for.
Oh yeah, a lot of people switch studios.
So,
Studio
like,
hopping. Well, studio hopping is a really good way to get more money. Like.
Yeah, but it's also like everyone then knows like what different studios use. What you know what I mean?
Oh, everyone knows, like,
Just not
everyone
say
at every
anything.
studio knows every other studio's tools
Yeah.
to an extent.
But
Obviously,
you
they
just
don't
can't
know
say
how it
You
looks.
just can't say shit about them.
Yeah.
Because it's like as NDA, but it's like it's just so odd. I find it such interesting whenever I joined. There was so much stuff that was like a blah.
Yeah.
A blah blah. But they're there for the good. Those NDAs.
Oh yeah, the NDAs. I mean, they do save jobs to an extent. They also make people lose their jobs.
Yes.
Many.
Many.
Yeah, there's the whole thing of
Well, I can tell a story that's totally unrelated to us. And it's widely known at home.
Clarifying that makes it even more nerve-wracking.
Oh no! No, as in like it's nothing to do with any of the studios we worked at.
Be careful what you say, regardless.
I'll not say
Just
anything.
in case.
There was a production, where I was from. No, sorry, it's all finalist. It's finalist. It's funny, but I'll say names. But there was a production, and I met the guy that did this, and I remember just thinking, what an idiot when I was speaking to him. I was like, and he was kind of funny because he just kind of took it in pride that he was the reason. Like, he got fired for this. He was on a set of a very of a series where I'm from, and he
No
took-
hints.
no hints.
Don't do it.
He took photos of the set, and it was like really really wrapped up. But he didn't put them anywhere. He just put them into like his group work chat, and someone showed like a boss, and then they brought them all in, and they were kind of like, right, you can either all get let go. These are all security staff. You can all get let go, or like tell us, like you shouldn't be taking photos. This is the NDA. So I met the guy I was speaking to him, and he was just like, yeah, this look cool. I was like, what? But he didn't like. It was kind of interesting because I didn't think he realized like the gravity of it until he did.
Yeah, like the thing is, NDAs, like, at the end of the day, like Disney and Fox and all the other clients, they've got millions and millions and millions riding on everything. And historically, there's been like there's been a few movie leaks. I can't remember which films, but it was like one of the X-Men films was leaked in its entirety like a few weeks before coming out, and it was estimated to lose them tens of millions.
There was other stuff as well. It was like there was other movies which were leaked.
The Incredible
Endgame?
Hulk, wasn't it? The original, the 2004 Hulk film or
I
something?
think Endgame was there not something to do with Infinity War or Endgame or one of them?
I
that was
haven't
leaked?
heard of any leaks with Endgame.
There was definitely a leak with X-Men. I remember that.
Oh wait, no, Endgame. There was a leak because I remember seeing gifs.
It was the
It was someone like recorded a screen
it was
somewhere.
like a part of Captain America or something. It was like leaked, and I remember everyone being like, "Oh, this is the bit." And I remember seeing the leak.
Yeah, like it might have just been like a pre-recording at a cinema, like if they delivered
it was
it.
over the screen.
Oh really?
So it was like, what?
Yeah, so like these NDAs are in place for a very solid reason because
They're not-
millions are riding on these things being done
they're
for
not
really.
just there to be like.
Yeah, they are terrifying though as an artist. Like anytime I speak about anything like
You have to, like,
relating to NDA. So I'm not even talking about something that's NDA, but I basically look like the. Do you know the Key and Peele GIF of the guy sweating profusely?
Yeah.
I just feel like that. Like just mentioning that NDAs exist can make you nervous as an artist.
They're there for a reason, bro.
Yeah, they are there for a reason. And the thing is, like, you know, the whole work from home thing, like with the VFX industry, I think the whole industry was pretty nervous about it, right? Just because it's so much easier to leak stuff when you're home,
Yeah.
because you're on, you've got like fancy setups and shit, but ultimately you're on your Wi-Fi in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one to check if you're taking pictures of your screen, so like the industry was fucking terrified of that.
I'm glad they adapted though.
Oh yeah, the work from home thing is amazing. It's really really good. And I think, like, as an artist, it's nice to feel like I've got some level of trust. Like, 'cause obviously, I wouldn't, but strictly speaking, there's nothing now that can really stop me from taking images.
Clarification, he wouldn't.
Yeah, clarification, I haven't and wouldn't. But, there's a level of trust coming from the studio, and that's quite a nice feeling. I think I've got them all in place now, except from these three. Oh no, there's another one. Four. Still more to go. Yeah, just to clarify what I'm doing right now. What? You okay?
Yeah, he's like.
So just to clarify what I'm doing right now. So I'm doing basically the sculpt has these strays sculpted into it, and it's just stray clumps, and I wanted them to be very specific shapes. So what I'm doing is I'm placing guides roughly where I think the root would be, and then once this is done, I'm going to add a mask that just is like a circle around the root of each guide, so I can guide clump, and I'm basically just controlling like a chunk of hair. So if you saw this hair on its own, it would look really really bad because it's just chunks. But yeah, it's kind of it's an easy way to control a groom basically. I need to add. In fact, I can wait on that. So let's add.
Ketchup?
No.
Yes.
Ketchup. Mayonnaise.
Mmm. I love me some.
You can't add mayonnaise to grooms, Becca. I know you would try.
You can add it to curry.
Morally, no. Technically, yes.
Legally, yes.
Legally you can, but morally you can't.
Shout out to this bitch.
Yeah, Becca put mayonnaise on a curry once.
It's because it's creamy and it's
I've
delicious.
never been more disappointed in a person.
Like,
You make me proud on a daily basis, but when you put that fucking mayonnaise on a curry, I was very upset. It's a big dollop of mayonnaise.
Did I tell you I had a weird dream about an NDA? This is back to the NDA thing. I had a weird dream about an NDA, as in like
No?
there's nothing in the dream related to anything, but it was like there was a talk, and I remember them asking, like they were all like, "Oh, you can talk about anything." And I remember standing up. This project in my dream, this project had been released on like, but it was really stupid. It was about like this is nothing I've ever worked on in work. I don't know why my head was thinking about it. It was like about a Christmas tree. It was some form of weird thing to this Christmas tree, and they'd released it all, and they were like, "Oh, we're working on this, blah blah." So in my dream, it was like I was talking about this. When I sat down, the person beside me that I worked with was like, "Oh, you can't be saying that." Like, it was so weird. I remember waking up so confused, thinking, "Oh my god, am I fired?" Then I was like, "Oh no, I didn't."
Well, it's just NDAs are terrifying. Like, it's what it all comes down to. Is NDAs are absolutely terrifying. Because again, like even if you know that you're not doing anything, just the idea of it being
like
so
the
easy.
mild sweat.
Well, yes, because like obviously we're talking about the nature of NDAs, and we've not said anything that is an NDA, but it's still nervous
So,
to
like,
talk about.
Are we? Who we?
Yeah, it's just like because all it takes is someone misinterpreting what we say
Yeah.
to think, oh, they've broken some kind of NDA, which again we haven't. But it's just such a scary subject. How are you guys with this COVID thing? We're doing all right.
We're live.
Yeah, we're alive. We've not killed each other despite living in the same room for
Working
3 weeks.
6 feet apart.
Yeah, working 6 feet apart. So it's just like we're doing all right. Everything's going quite nicely.
I make many recipes,
Yeah, she's a really good cook,
and I'm sculpting at the moment.
and she's also learning ZBrush, which is quite cool.
It's fun. It's
It is.
not.
No, ZBrush is fun. You're wrong if you think it's not. Rebuild.
How were you during COVID? I'm who's saying next. I'm not looking at this thing.
Yeah. Senior little man 18.
I like your.
Well,
username.
senior is SR. I assume it's senior. Yeah. How are you doing, man? Are you doing okay?
I want to check out who they are now.
I don't know who it is.
Can I click on their name? Oh, I can copy their name.
It might be someone I know. It might not. I mean, these streams aren't amazingly popular, so I imagine it's someone on my Facebook friends list.
I'm gonna Google them.
Don't investigate someone who comments on my stuff.
I will and I can.
I'm sorry if you feel your privacy is being invaded, senior little man.
Welcome to the NDAs at Becca. And then they just have playlists. I like your. You like space too? I like space.
Space.
They've got loads of one of their playlists is about space Falcon launches.
ZBrush is fun, but God, the interface. The interface is okay. It's not as bad as Blender's.
The new one's okay because you can move things.
You've always been able to move stuff. You mean ZBrush's interface?
Yeah, like the newest one where you can move things. Like
you can move things anyway.
No, but like you remember that I have the old janky one, Mike. Like I have the one from before where you have to like drag the circles everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I started on ZBrush 4R5.
Well, aren't you clever? I didn't.
Like, I've been using ZBrush now for like 6 years.
I didn't.
Like, the interface is weird, but you've always been able to adjust it. The thing that I don't like is the cameras. That shit can die. Right, I think I'm almost done with these guides. Rebuild. Let's rebuild to 5 just to block out the shape. Oh, small topic to cover. Guide CVs. It's quicker and easier to adjust a general shape with less CVs. So if you want to very quickly change the general feel, less CVs is better. However, you can't get nice curves with it. So what I like to do is start with a low CV count, get the general shape, and then increase the CV count. Because if you start high CV, you're going to have a lot of issues with kind of like little artifacts in the guide.
Oh, ZBrush is crashing.
Rebuild down to 8, not up to 8. So this stray clump won't make much sense compared to the other hairs around it.
That's rude.
Well, it won't, because the overall clump is way shorter. So it's like the hairdresser missed a bit when they were cutting the hair, because like that's the end of the clump. And
Are you
then
gonna put an irritable bit in his eye, which is annoying?
what's sorry?
An irritable bit in his eye, which is annoying.
Irritable bit in his eye. What do you
Like
mean?
that long bit that you're grooming right now.
Oh right, yeah. Right.
Good.
So now we can start adding. So this should go up to 60,000. I think was the hair count. This is going to be horrible looking now. Hmm?
Left stream.
Thanks. So it's not updating again. Six. It'll update eventually. Right, so I know what settings I need in the meantime. So 0, 1. Taper 0.8. Start 0.8. Around that will do. I feel like this guy needs to kind of swerve in a bit. So thanks.
Swerve.
Swerve. Right, okay, so channel box. Let's show the sculpts are visible. Cool. Okay, so it is doing that thing. Save. Same the dude. Right, so let's go into Action. Let's create a map. For stray clumps. 01 mask. Set the default to black. I'm going to set this quite high. Let's say 60. My interface isn't updating.
Once this is over, you're gonna have to. You should do a little look dev stream.
I looked at stream. Well, that's the thing. So the next guy I'm planning on doing is that the drawing that I shown you.
Yeah, but why don't you look dev something?
Well, I might work on the eyes for this guy a little bit, like just do a quick sculpt pass and talk about the look dev. No, that's your thing.
No, I can't do it because I'm not rendered now.
So I'm just gonna restart Maya. So screen's gonna go black for a second. That's fine. Right. So come on, Maya, die.
Do your thing, girl.
One thing that is nice with RenderMan is because it renders in a completely separate window. When you close Maya, the render's still available to you. Like it's still right there.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Useless feature for most of the time, but it's kind of nice sometimes. Right. This is dead now, so I need to kill it. So you can see I just saved version 16 and it came up successful, but it's still saying 15 up here because it's just my Maya likes to randomly die like that. There you go, Maya's dead. Reopen it.
You made her a food.
Open number 16. Continue. So, box.
Can you delete history in ZBrush?
Can you delete history in ZBrush?
Mm-hmm.
As in the undo history? You can. I can't remember where though.
I think this is just a bit too big for my old.
You can say it so it doesn't save them. You're going to have to Google it though because I can't remember off the top of my head. There we go. So let's go into straight clumps, pen a map, solid, turn off stylus pressure just in case, although I don't think it makes a difference with a mouse. And I'm just going to do uniform size, so let's just do that. I might have to subtly move the guides that are at the hairline just to push them back into the hair a little bit so they can hide. Because this sort of groom, you tend to like force things quite a lot, which isn't necessarily the right thing to do all the time, but it's the easiest thing to do. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is the right thing to do, so.
Whether it's breaking up with your significant other.
Hey! Don't you dare.
I mean, we're stuck in quarantine, Mike.
Yeah, like, stuck with me, whether you like it or not.
It's okay, I like it. You're a cool bean.
Aw, you think I'm cool? You're terribly misinformed.
How do you go down a subdivision?
Shifty.
It's not letting me.
Go into geometry,
Yeah.
and you'll see your subdivision levels at the top of that tab. It's like a little slider.
Oh, that's weird.
If you're already on 1, then that's the lowest.
Yeah. I must have deleted it.
I actually kind of like how this looks without the clumping. It just kind of looks interesting. Let's get the other hairs in there. So I'm going to hide the guides now. So let's go eyebrows. They're already there. That's fine. Hair front clumps. Show those. Let's go hair short. Show that. And then finally hair. And let me just check. Yeah, that section's still working. Cool. Then hide the guides for this guy. So let's show the render geo as well. Getting there. Just need to start tightening up this guy now. So first thing is we need more CVs, because 5 CVs isn't going to be enough. So let's look at this section, for example. So these hairs here. Henning sent me a photo. What did he send?
Is it a grooming problem?
Yeah, it's going to be a problem.
Michael, fix it.
Okay. I'll help out once stream is done. Cool. 12. So I might actually go higher than 12. I might go
60.
No, I might go too high, 24. 60 would be a bit insane.
Not high enough.
Nothing is enough. Okay, so that's those in place.
What
Now
is
I can add a modifier. I'm going to add a noise, not a noise, a guide clumping, which gives me this. So we're starting to get there now. Clump volumers, see what that does. Absolutely nothing. I'm going to set this to update automatically. Might add some clump twist. So add a little bit of curl. Is that in degrees or no? Is 2? Oh, that's kind of interesting. Round 1 to 3. Don't like how 3 looks. Round 1 to 2. So, do we want sub-clumping is the question. Might not work for some of it, might work for other bits. For the subtle noise as well. Say subtle. Two. 1.5. Just reduce that. Round 0 to 0.5. So technically this is breaking them away from the guides that I did, but at the same time keeping it subtle just adds a bit of randomness that a human hand is really bad at doing. So now, I don't like how some of these are twisting, but I'll be opening that in a sec. So let's add a sub-clumping. And getting the number right for this is going to be really hard. I'm going to set this to 200, generate, and then let's save that. 200 might have been a good guess, actually. Actually, yeah, 200 was a pretty solid guess. Let's try changing different numbers. Let's just try 100, see if that works. Just so, oh, 100 works better. Let's try going lower still. Let's try 50. Generate. So all it's doing is breaking up those large clumps, making them feel a little bit more natural. I can also now start to add strays to these. But I'm not going to do that yet. Why do you like to paint your mask? Do you use an external software? No, so I like to, I know that you can paint your masks in tools like Mudbox or Mari. I personally prefer just to do it in Maya. Generally speaking, at least in the way I like to work, is the less tools I use, the quicker I can iterate. Because something that's quite important to me personally is the pace at which I work. If I'm switching between tools frequently, there's a lot of dead time where I have to get back into kind of the zone of working with that particular tool, working with whatever techniques it requires. Whereas if I'm still in Maya, yes, the paint tools are really awful, but I can get used to them, and once I'm used to them, I can get iterations out way faster. This stray here is working really badly against me, so I'm going to have to change him. Maybe curl him in or something. But let's get some cut on there. So cut. Does that work? Let's set a bit more randomness. And let's add a noise as well. So noise. Okay, and then I'm going to go into the magnitude. I'm going to load an expression. Load over. Noise magnitude. Going to turn off the map because I don't have a map. So I can just replace all that with apply, accept. There we go. So that allows me to get a little bit more randomness. Does the hairs feel too thick? I think they are. What was the thickness of my actual hair? 0.005. Okay, so they're twice as thick as the other hairs. Oh, that feels a bit better. So I'm going to change the guide for this guy because I really don't like the way he looks. Move that over. Let's just update that. That works better. I do need to add some more going back. But that's pretty much there. That's starting to work. I am going to have to do a test render with this now. So let's go into Hypershade. Let's get these guys and assign my hair mat, and then get this guy, assign my peach fuzz. Okay, and just save again. So because I added a bit of clump curl, those stray clumps are going to feel a little bit matted. In this case, I want that, but we'll see if it actually visually works when I render this. So let's render this angle. Render man, preview render. I think I'm going to end the stream fairly soon because it's almost been 2 hours already.
It's also 10 o'clock now.
Pardon?
It's also 10 o'clock.
Yeah. I might move the streams forward to 7:30 rather than 8.
Yeah, because it gives you a bit more.
It gives me more time if I want them to keep going. It just gives me less time between finishing work and actually doing a stream. And once we go back to working in offices,
It'll have to be later again.
it'd have to be later again, yeah. Because it takes me an hour to get home anyway. That looks like it's working quite well.
Guess what today? Tomorrow is
What day is tomorrow?
Friday.
Don't you dare. No. No. It's actually working quite well. Look at that. The stray clumps here.
All I saw was like the pixelated black things from the render. I was like, oh yeah, honey, that looks great.
Oh, he's the moon. Yeah, like these stray clumps are actually working alright.
It was cool.
These ones are too long. I need to pull these back a little bit. The shadow here is also looking like a scar.
It's kind of cute though.
I might move the hair away from the head though because I don't like that shadow. Like it's darker than the shadows around it. And it makes sense, and I guess the lighting would change that. But that shadow is really shaking me off a bit. Peach Fizz is working now.
Can you give him one really long ear hair?
One really long ear hair. I mean, he's a child, so no. Although I have done ear hair grooms before. Yeah, adding those the stray clumps groom really adds another layer to the thing. Thanks for doing this. It's awesome to see how grooms are made from scratch. Yeah, no worries, man. I mean, there's a lot of better content out there for sure. Like, I mean, I'm doing this live and unedited, except from one instance where I had to edit a clip. But I've not skipped any actual grooming, so it's quite slow and tedious to watch. If you want like actual structured teaching, there's a few courses I can recommend. I mean, there's the Patreon of Jesus Fernandez, which is pretty decent. Yeah, these straight clumps are actually working really well. Look at that.
Oh, they are. That's cool.
It feels quite painterly because of them. I need one here though. I need something there to break this up. But yeah, so Jesus Fernandez does some pretty decent Patreons. Granted, I've not watched them, but
Good.
yeah, Beck has watched a few of them, and also I'm pretty decent friends with him, so I know what his content is like. So his stuff would be good. I personally, some of the tutorials I looked at when I was starting off, I'm gonna Google them on the other screen and put them on. So let's look at Tom Newbury. Tom Newbury's Gumroad. So this guy's a look dev artist, but he did a groom tutorial a while ago, and it might be, yeah. So this tutorial is actually really good. I bought it. I think it's a good couple of years old now. I'm pretty sure I bought it when I was still in uni, and that was at least 3 years ago. Oh yeah, he's on. That guy's already on. He's his Patreon.
That's good.
But yeah, so this tutorial is one that I learned a lot from. It's he's not a groom artist, but he's a really good artist. So he, despite not knowing the ins and outs of grooms, he can still share a lot of really insightful stuff, which is it's a unique, kind of a perspective on stuff. Like he talks about how things look purely artistically, and he's got a few nice little tricks. And the overall effect is really nice. There's Tarkan Sareem, who I've never watched his Patreon, but there's a video that he did on Gumroad as well. This one, and it was supposed to be a full series. It never became a full series, which is kind of a shame. But this is kind of, when I started, was pretty much the only XGen tutorial, but it does go over some pretty nice information with guide work. And very particularly his how he approaches the viewport, because the viewports are super nice. Like this is his XGen back in Maya 2016, so he made it look really pretty. You can get a lot out of it. He does have a Patreon, but I've never seen it, and I haven't really spoken to him, so I can't vouch for how that would be. But I imagine it's good because he's an amazing groom artist. Other than that, what other good tutorials would there be? Can't really think of much else off the top of my head. But yeah, so there's a lot of good stuff out there. The Tom Newbury one gets a really solid recommendation. His stuff is genuinely really good. And obviously there's another site as well. Let me just there is my website. It's got some yeah, I have to get that plug in now. It's become a little running gag. I've got some tutorials on here that are actually properly written out. Do's and don'ts of grooming, guide grooming, XGen pipeline for beginners, and also my first tutorial, which is this guy. In fact, no, it's my second tutorial, which was N-hair grooming. But this goes over the full pipeline and some basic information about actual hair. So these are, I'd say they're still pretty helpful. This is outdated now. I say so in I updated it to say it's outdated. So here, for example, but there is still decent information in here. So that could be helpful as well. And I just have to get a little plug in there. But these are like really old now.
You should post your Dragon Boy on there.
Yeah, I'll be updating the website with the live streams, I think. I mean, the website's kind of outdated in its setup. I need to update my generalist reel as well, out of date, and then my professional reel's password protected. But yeah. Anyway, so looking at this now, the thing that's standing out to me is this feels quite messy in a good way. So does this, but this area feels quite neat. So I do need to very quickly tweak this section. And then I'm pretty much in the final kind of polish phase. Well, like the next video will be going through and fixing little intersections here or there, and maybe working on the texture stuff a little bit. I do need to render him from the back as well. So render him from here. So yeah, the next one will probably be the last of the stream. It'll be on Saturday, probably 8 o'clock again, GMT.
Night, not the morning.
Yeah, night in the morning. I'm not getting up early on a Saturday. But yeah, so that will cover kind of final tweaks, and then I'll maybe do a little bit of work on the eye shader, or do some eye sculpting to get something out. I'll probably just end up making a map with Nuke, to be honest, because there's a pretty famous eye texture that works really well. This rubbed bit isn't reading yet. I'm going to need to do some work on that. But let's see how the rest of it looks. Yeah, are there any questions while this renders and while I consider the next kind of moves on this stuff? Might add some subsurface to this shader as well. It won't be worth teaching it yet because I'm not like in depth on RenderMan's shading compared to like V-Ray. I know V-Ray a lot better. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, now's a good time to ask because the stream will be ending fairly soon.
70 seconds.
No, it's a delay of like 15-20 seconds, so I'll give like, I'll continue streaming until 10 past 10, which if you're in a different time zone, just look in the bottom right of my screen. 10 past 10 I'll stop streaming, unless I'm in the middle of answering a question. I'm not just going to cut myself off. So, oh, that's a great question. Yeah, all you need to do is stream's on. Yeah, while I wait for any questions, if anyone has any, looking at the back of this hair, so it is reading a lot better now. We do have the changes of direction. It's a little bit dark. I'm going to have to render with a better shader. But we've got bigger breakups that are working quite nicely. This section doesn't look as broken as it was because we moved the hairline back. I need some sculpting information here. Maybe it is worth me doing like a sculpt, like going back in and doing some skin detailing and that sort of stuff.
I think it would be cool.
Just because, you know, I've spent a while on the hair now, so that it kind of leaves the skin behind at this point. And it wouldn't take much to go in and do some pore and wrinkle work. Which, by the way, actually, side note, there was a really great stream today, or yesterday, depending on time zone, I guess. ZBrush, Geo, Nakbill. This one. So this was streamed last night, maybe the night before. There's some really great information on this on skin detailing and organic work. I really recommend it. It's actually amazing. So it's a side note, really. And that's just, yeah, Geo Nakpil, I think it's pronounced. But yeah, so in terms of looking at the back of the groom, so this is starting to work a lot better. This side doesn't work as well as this side, but that might just be a silhouette thing. So maybe it just needs more flows, which, to be fair, I've not added any yet, so that probably would be it. The stray clumps are working from this angle, but I think we need some at the back, just at the crown. This region feels very flat, so I think I'm going to add some clump curl just to break that up a bit, because actually I quite like what the clump curl did to the rest. And other than that, I think this is working, although this is technically not what I wanted. I kind of like the breakup this is giving me. So I'm using references, I'm just going with the flow. At the moment, I'm just going with the flow. granted, I've been grooming professionally. I'm not grooming professionally anymore, but I was grooming professionally for 2.5 years. So when I'm not using reference, I still do have a lot of experience to kind of like pull on. So if you're new to grooming, don't groom without reference. I mean, I shouldn't be grooming without reference either because there's a lot I can improve on. Um, like, on the grand scale of things, groomers get way, way better than I am. So I should be using reference. But, I'm just good enough to get an okay looking groom without reference sometimes. Um, so I have been working without it.
For justification of that, watch the first stream.
Yeah, if you want to see kind of me fumbling, the first stream was the one where I was trying to figure out what I wanted, and like about half the stream was me just saying, no, these guys aren't going to work. Um, but again, like I've done enough grooms to kind of improvise something that feels at least somewhat natural. Granted, this isn't feeling natural really. Like these hairs, these clumps end too soon. They should end further down. They feel too straw-like. There needs to be some hairs that aren't clumping, which I've still not got around to doing. Which actually I can do pretty soon, so I'll sort that out. But yeah, so there's a lot this can improve on, but it looks okay. But I need to twist these because currently I'm getting like an anisotropic effect on the highlight of these hairs, and I don't necessarily want that. You can't avoid it on hair, but this is just a bit too strong for me. Like if you squint, the top of the hair is by far the brightest bit of the image, and it's like a solid block of highlight, which doesn't exactly look great. Strays are working alright. They're getting some nice curl in there now, which I haven't done today, but kind of noticing it now. I need to get some more frizzies in there though. They're getting some good crossover though. The fuzz is working pretty well. I'm going to put a light in front of the character to kind of let me just create a renderman light, rectangle light. So let me grab you. So I'm just going to make a bright light to kind of emphasize, because I know you guys can't see the fuzz terribly well. So I'm just going to move that behind his head. So this will help kind of see what I'm seeing. And then I should be able to, what's the exposure these guys set to? 0.349. So I'm just going to go 0.4. Temperature, let's enable a nice warm temperature. That might be a bit too warm, we'll see. I think 6,500 is neutral light. Let's go 5,000. So if I do a render with this, I'm going to do preview render. Yeah, Francis, sorry about that. I didn't. When I was posting the April Fool's tutorial, I was really hoping everyone would remember it's April Fool's. I feel bad for kind of.
Nobody did.
Well, no, there was two people who didn't. There was Christian, who is like CG supervisor, and when he was asking if it was a joke, I was like, oh no, I've burned my reputation forever. I'm done for. And then when you commented, I just felt bad. So, granted, that's not the reason I'm doing these live streams. But I'm glad that I've made up for it. I'm glad I've got some okay karma now. Let's see this fuzz. If you're wondering why I didn't do an IPR, I've had a few issues with the IPR not ending, and that causes a lot of crashes for me. It's probably just a bug. I've got a lot of issues with this version of Maya. I need to upgrade at some point, or update, replace these bugs with some new bugs. Also, it just got to 10 past 10, so I'll be ending the stream once I've seen this render. Oh, the suspense. Yeah, this matte texture isn't really working yet. I'm going to have to play with that quite a lot. Maybe add another noise that is linked to the same map or something. So I can just paint one map and have it be like a matted area, like turned on kind of thing. I really hope this light is bright enough to actually highlight the hairs. I'd hate to wait all this time to find out it's not.
Just waited for it to crash and then.
It's showing up on that side at least. Yeah, it looks like it's going to show them. I can see a few here popping out. It's going to be subtle still, but if not, I'll just crank it. You can see it bleeding through this clump here. See you on Saturday, man. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Enjoy your quarantine.
Yeah, enjoy your quarantine. Okay, the light was too far around, so it doesn't actually reach these. Although it does do a nice thing to these clumps at the front. Yeah, there we go. So that's the groom at the moment. I guess you guys can't really see the peach fuzz, but it's doing what I want it to do. It's very straight. Like for actual peach fuzz, this would be too flat and kind of boring. Normally, you'd expect some kind of curl. But for this character, you know, he's made a simple shape, so it's kind of nice to have something like that. And I think when I do the actual renders for this, I'm going to put a bit of pretty depth of field on there, which I always overdo. And I always get comments saying I'm overdoing it, and I always disregard them because I like depth of field, and this is a personal project. But yeah, alright, cool. So that's the final groom, and then we've got the front. So it's getting there, definitely getting there. Still not perfect by any stretch, but we need to. So for Saturday's session, here's the notes I'm going to give myself, and I'll try to do them on Saturday. So this section feels very boring. We need a little bit of twist or some filling in the gaps. Just because this is nice and broken up, this is very broken up, this is not broken up at all really. It's just clean lines straight through. Eyebrows, I've kept saying that I'm going to remove this, but actually I've kind of gotten used to having it there. I kind of like it, so I'm going to keep this. We did address the stuff on the nose. Maybe I'll add a little bit more fuzz on the cheeks. But I think this is working quite well now, although I am aware you guys can't see it. I might shorten this clump here, because he works, but this one coming to almost, well, it's actually almost at pupil level. That needs to be shortened a little bit, because it doesn't make a huge amount of sense to have a clump that ends here, and then a stray that comes out like 20% longer. I need to add more of these stray clumps further back, because the back is kind of untreated at the moment, like it's a bit, you know, we need something around the crown. We need to fix this highlighted region, because it's too flat, way too flat. Blend this in somehow. I know the camera angle doesn't exactly see it right now, so I'll have to do some work on that. But blend that in, and then either I guess we can chat about it in the next session, but see if it's worth doing some skin and eye look dev to kind of push that a little bit further. Because at the moment it is literally just there is some sculpting on this, but it's just forms. There's absolutely no detailing or even secondary forms. There's like this crease here, and that's kind of it. It's pretty much all primary forms. So if we do a little bit of skin shading, a little bit of eye work to really push it to next level, then we can add some, you know, pretty render effects, you know, some vignetting and all that sort of stuff. And I can talk a bit more in depth about that stuff. But yeah, so that's the end of the stream for now, guys. I hope it's been helpful, and it's been 2 hours and 15 minutes so far. So yeah, I hope it's been helpful for you guys. So I'm gonna head off. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, guys, and see you if you want to come back on Saturday. Around 8 o'clock again, but I'll be posting it before, and I always start the stream like start YouTube up about 15 minutes early, so it gives you a little bit of time to see it. Alright, bye guys.